Today we're going to look at different types of quadrilaterals. This is not a word we use on a daily basis, but it is something that you're pretty familiar with. You have learned a lot of these quadrilaterals, so it should be not too bad. A quadrilateral, it's a polygon with four sides. That's all it is. There are lots of different four-sided polygons that we'll talk about today, but they're all quadrilaterals. They all fall under that family tree. So here's a couple of them. We got trapezoid. A trapezoid has one pair of parallel lines. So typically what we'll do is we'll use arrows to show that they're parallel. So the top one and the bottom one are parallel. That's our pair of parallel lines. A special type of trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid. That's a trapezoid where the non-parallel sides are congruent. And there's actually some other cool stuff that happens with this. If these two sides are congruent, then that means that this bottom corner here is actually congruent to the other bottom corner over here. And then likewise, the top corner is, this angle is also congruent to this angle. And there's other stuff like the diagonals. If you connect, let's do that real quick. The diagonals here from this corner to that corner, those are the same, which is pretty cool. So these diagonals are also the same distance. So there's a lot of pretty cool properties when these sides are congruent. Okay, so that's a trapezoid and an isosceles trapezoid. Another type is a parallelogram, and this is a quadrilateral with two pairs of parallel sides. So that means the top and bottom are parallel. So the top and the bottom are parallel. And then the left and right sides are also parallel. So parallel here and parallel there. Okay, and then a rhombus, it's a lot like a parallelogram. It's a quadrilateral with four congruent sides this time, though. All four of these sides are the same length. What I like to think is it's like a square that's been pushed to the side. And actually, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but a square is a type of rhombus. It just happens to be that all the corners are 90 degrees. So rhombus kind of looks like a square that's been pushed over. Most rhombuses look like that. Squares are just special types of rhombuses. Okay, a rectangle. We've learned about these throughout our years. It's a quadrilateral with four 90-degree angles. So this is a 90-degree angle. All four of them are 90-degree angles. And then a square, it's a combination of a rectangle and a rhombus. It's a quadrilateral with four, that should be 90-degree angles, and four sides that are congruent. So all corners are right angles, and all the sides are the same. And a square is something you learn about, in kindergarten. Okay, and then one more type of quadrilateral. This is called a kite. And so a kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of congruent adjacent sides. So that means the two top sides are the same, and then these two bottom sides are the same. They're congruent. Okay, so that is a kite. This is different than anything else. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to show you my family tree for just a minute here. And then we're going to try to relate that to quadrilaterals. So here's my family tree. This is me right here. And this is my wife, Leslie. And we have three children. We've got Eli, Charlie, and Abby. Okay? And then this is my brother Jay, and my other brother Brett. And you can see from the lines here that the three of us kind of meet. And our parents, Mom Nelson and Dad Nelson, had we three boys. Okay? Leslie, my wife, her parents, Mom St. Aubin, Dad St. Aubin, they both had Leslie, and then I drew four more lines. They had four other children as well. So there were 5 St. Aubin children altogether. I just didn't write all their names over here. Okay, and then my mom had 2 parents, Grandma and Grandpa Gores, and she had some siblings as well, but I didn't include them on here. There would be a lot more branches all over the place here. My dad had his parents, my grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa Nelson. And then my wife's mom, she had her parents, Grandma and Grandpa Barkey, that was her maiden name. And then my wife's dad, his parents were Grandma and Grandpa St. Aubin. So what I'm trying to get at here with this family tree is, let's just say, is Eli, my son, is he a Barkey? And the answer is yes. He stems from the Barkey family. So Eli is Leslie's son, who is her mom's daughter, who happens to be from the Barkey family. So Eli is a Barkey. Is Jay, my brother, a St. Aubin? The answer to that is no. Jay only is part of the Gores family and the Nelson family. He is not connected to the St. Aubin side. So he would be a no. How about Brett? Is Brett a St. Aubin? The answer is no. Brett is part of the Nelson family as well. He's part of the Gores family. So Brett would not be included in the Barkey or St. Aubin side. How about, is Grandpa Nelson, well, I can't think of a way to say it. Is he a St. Aubin? No, of course not. I mean, it has nothing to do with St. Albans. So the idea is we want to put the more specific shapes down here, and then these are all offspring of, the original shapes, the more general shapes. So let's try to do this, try to apply this idea to quadrilaterals. So quadrilaterals are just four-sided shapes. And we have a bunch of different shapes here, and we're going to kind of put them in families. So one family is obviously trapezoids. So let's move those. We've got a trapezoid, and then a special type of trapezoid is an isosceles trapezoid. So let's put some arrows here. A trapezoid is part of the quadrilateral family. Quadrilateral had 3 children. We'll get to the other 2 children in a second here. And then the trapezoid had 1 child. It was the isosceles trapezoid. Okay, another child of the quadrilateral would be a kite, and this one is kind of an outcast. It doesn't have any children. It doesn't, it's just kind of its own little entity. So a kite is, we'll just call it a loner over there. That's one of the offspring of the quadrilateral. And then the other one, these 4 are all in common because they have parallel sides on top, or parallel on top and bottom, and then on the sides as well. So the parallelogram, these are all under the parallelogram family. And a parallelogram, it had 2 children. It had a rectangle and a rhombus, and somehow it had those 2 children all by itself, which is quite impressive. So a parallelogram, a rhombus is a type of a parallelogram, and a rectangle is also a type of a parallelogram, because a rectangle, the top and bottom are parallel, and the left and right are parallel. Same with a rhombus. It's just with a rectangle, it's more specific. All the corners are 90-degree angles. And with a rhombus, all the sides are the same. So this is where it gets kind of weird. These siblings, rectangle and rhombus, had a kid together, and that was square. And so the rectangle and rhombus, a square is a specific type of rectangle, because a square has 90-degree angles, but it also has all 4 sides the same. So a square is also a rhombus. So how is this related to a family tree? So my question is a square a parallelogram? And that would be a yes. The parallelogram is kind of like the grandma of the square. And so the square is a type of a parallelogram. It just happens to be a type of a rectangle and it's a type of a rhombus. Is a square a quadrilateral? So does a square have 4 sides? Absolutely, yeah. How about this? Is a square a type of trapezoid? And the answer is no. A trapezoid can only have 1 pair of parallel lines, and a square has 2 pairs of parallel lines. So a square is not a type of trapezoid. So hence it's not part of the trapezoid family. Is a kite a parallelogram? The answer is no. The sides across from each other on a kite are not parallel. Neither are these sides. So kite is kind of all in its own little family here. So that's kind of how I view the quadrilateral. It's called a hierarchy. It's like a family tree, um, and this helps you kind of see which shapes go with which other shapes. So that's it for the quadrilaterals and the quadrilateral hierarchies.